Hi, everyone. My name is Marcus. I'm DevRel at Edge and Node. And here today we have Beary, who's from UNCX Lockers. And he is a front-end developer who I actually got to hang out with a little bit in Brussels. He was at ETH Global, and he actually won a prize. So really cool to see how he is grown with UNCX and now is a graph protocol winner of a hackathon. So he got a good prize there. So Beary, if you could please introduce yourself, and from there, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Barry. I'm one of the devs at UNCX. So just just to add, so what happened basically? Our team decided to participate. This is the first time our company is participating as a kind of company at the hackathon. So it wasn't a solo effort. We wanted to explore V4 hooks on Uniswap, and I did the front end mainly. I did a bit of I tried to get the graph client to work, but we got it to work in the end. And but the subgraph was designed by one of my teammates, and but we have a lot of experience building with subgraphs. We've been building on subgraphs for the past 2 years now. So so we're kind of we've adopted them very heavily. So our entire app is built on top of the subgraph stack at the moment, including we're exploring substreams and all these things at the moment. We're very excited about the technology, and I just wanted to share how I went about building the front end, how I usually go about building front end, and how I integrate the graph with the front end, and also just kind of show off some of the tools that I've been using lately to assist me with the front end design when it comes to just prototyping, hackathons, things like this.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what your style is when you're preparing for these hackathons, and when you're in these hackathons. The pressure is always on, and for those of you who haven't been in a hackathon, you have sometimes a week, sometimes a month, but with ETH Global, you've only got 72 hours, and it's really, really fast, and you're not sleeping, and it's fast. So I'm curious to see what strategies you're going to share with us today, and how you build fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Build quick.
Yeah. So I was just thinking we could have a little conversation. Maybe you could ask, because I'm quite chaotic in the way I go about things. So I could just show you a bunch of things. So we can start with AI, for example, and then we can proceed onto the going through the repo. I can show the repo actually that I've used, the front end repo that I used for the hackathon, just to kind of show how what I do, what happens, when things go wrong, what are the backups, especially when it comes to integrating API calls and things like this.
Yeah, let's start with that. That'd be great.
So this is I'm not going to dive into the subgraph code itself, because if you want to check it out, I suggest going into the repo. We can probably share it afterwards, right, for the project. But the project is called it's called basically Rugstop, which is a V4 hook. This is going to be our example project. It's there to stop liquidity rugging when people add liquidity, which is quite a relevant thing for us, because we UNCX as a liquidity locker basically. So when someone wants to launch a project, people, especially a developer, creates a big pool which users can swap on. And so what happens basically, some malicious developers can sometimes still. Oh, sorry.
You go ahead and could you make this also bigger, the localhost 3000?
Yeah. I'll make it bigger.
Big. Everything's got to be 7 times bigger than you think it should be.
All right, I'm gonna make it 10 bigger. So the problem here is it's meant to be bigger, but the font is not loading. For some reason, decided to, because we had a really cute font here as well. It's supposed to be NES, and like Nintendo. theme.
Yeah, I did see it at the hackathon. It did have that NES Nintendo look.
Yeah, I guess my internet just like gave up on me. Anyway, so so basically, so I think this is like a pretty good example of just like a hackathon project in general, right? You have a very simple app. You have here we have some graph data, which is some dashboard, right? We can click on the dashboard and it takes you to like some information. This is a very like kind of typical hackathon type. You probably have, you create a pool, you have some contract functions, you have some simulations. So
functional, and it gets the point across in terms of use case.
Yeah, exactly. So how did we kind of like how do I usually decide to begin my designing process, so to say, with the front end for a hackathon like this? I just usually open like Excalibur, you draw something, like I don't know. We wanted to show what the hook experience in the future is going to look like. Say Uniswap is like out, whatever the hook website is going to look like when this thing is like out there, and like, so like title, maybe you want to explain.
You already knew what you were gonna build, and you just needed to figure out like the design of how to present.
Yeah, exactly.
Functionality was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we kind of knew that we wanted to build something on top of V4 because for us, I mean, like if you go to the hackathon, you have like two options mainly. So your option A is like, I'm gonna win. So you just you make sure you come up with the most creative, the most exploratory thing you can think of. Option two, which is like often with the companies like us, is just like you go in to just like try things out. You want to experiment. You want to like do you want to build? We want to build on top of V4 in the future. This is like we love Uniswap. We build on top of Uniswap all the time. So we were like, you know what? We're gonna experiment with V4, and maybe we'll build something cool. Maybe not. Maybe we'll win some prizes. Maybe we won't win some prizes. But
was there anything? Not to interrupt, but I'm curious. Was there anything in the V4 upgrade that you thought was interesting, that you were like, oh, that's different, that's nice?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest difference for us is the fact that you can access the liquidity at a logical level. So basically, beforehand, you would have access to NFTs, NFT representation of liquidity for liquidity pool, for example. You would have access to positions, right? You have LP tokens, which represent share of liquidity with V2. So best thing we could do, like say like we do liquidity locking. The best thing we could do as a liquidity locker, just take those LP positions and put them inside of a contract, and perform some besting functionality on those tokens, right? Which is actually kind of limiting. So what V4 actually allowed us to do, which is quite interesting, this is basically a very like experiment, like it's a very basic example, but it illustrates like the power already. So we built like a factory that could lock liquidity, create pools that lock liquidity at a liquidity layer. So which basically means you lock the liquidity at the protocol layer. So when someone adds liquidity into the pool itself, the UNCX logic, for example, or Rockstop logic is executed automatically as soon as liquidity is added at a, at the point zero, step one, you add liquidity and then that's it. Whereas like with the previous versions, for example, you would need to add liquidity, then you would go to a website, maybe you want to stake it in, for example, Arrakis, or you want to like, lock it with UNCX. Whereas now you can pretty much design pools which combine these functionalities together, and it creates a very like unique user experiences. And I think in the future people will be designing these websites, hooks for these websites, and websites for these hooks, and and pools, etc. So we just decided.
Cool.
So this is example. This is like an example of, what I just showed. Like this is what say Rockstop. Very basic. We just wanted to have like UI kind of thing. And this is actually the point where kind of like, for me personally, AI comes in big time. So especially like in the early design process. So for UI, we usually use a library called ShadCN. So for example, you have this website V0 that I usually use for generating components. So we can see like some public ones that people have generated. So all these components have been generated using ShadCN as a component layer. And so what people do, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it very well, but like I'm just gonna zoom in real quick.
Yeah, always bigger.
Yeah, this isn't gonna work here, but this is, I think it's bigger because I can get. So full analysis of a poll, be creative. A poll usually is yes or no, right? So and it's giving you like poll results, breakdown, yes or no. Gives you some questionnaires, some tables, just it's very nice. I'll do a quick demonstration in a second. So what I've been kind of experimenting with. So say you have like a prototype like this, you have a design. So what I actually usually do, I just take a picture of like, I do a little screenshot here, and then I just drag and drop it. And then, so I give a visual. So what I did, I just took this and I put it into uploaded as an image. And
That's v0.dev. That's the website?
v0.dev, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to show you how, how to install the components, because it's kind of low level. But once you actually like, well, let me just show you. This is for a
Go ahead.
hackathon. Make it black. I don't know. Okay. I'm not feeling very creative, so I'll just start with this. I mean, we can always like, change it, do something later. So yeah, we just pasted it in. So now it's gonna generate it. So we combine the prompt, like the picture prompt and like the text prompt together. And so as you can see, it has picked up the text really well. So in fact, it's exactly the text. So rock stopping hook is exactly, as as it was shown here. Actually, if I didn't say make it black, it would probably make it white, for example, right? So, and based on that, like, we picked the version that we like. Let me see. So they got different styles. It's a very simple. It was a very simple image, so they kind of like generated exactly how I wanted it. So say, and then I can expand on it, add an image underneath of let's try this out of a hook. I don't know if it's actually doing image generation. That would be interesting. Let's find out. So now it's generating some extra stuff.
V0 actually have the code for this? Does it export the code so you can drop it in?
Yes. If we go on the right, yeah. So you can see in real time, it's actually generating it as we speak, for example. Yeah. So so what's happening is it's not actually it's not using any image generation. Although that would be kind of cool if it just like generate an image as well. It'd be kind of fun. But what it did, it generated a placeholder component, the placeholder.svg. So you have title, bio, and then we can like, I mean, ideally, so what I usually do, I usually like to, add extra stuff here, like make sure that I have as much information in here as possible, and then plug it in here. Or maybe you just design it in like little pieces. You have a piece here, you have like a little piece here, like say create logic, 2 text fields here, drop this in V0. It's going to generate you another set of components. It's going to give you layout.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I know a lot of people use text to generate these components, but I just wanted to show the power of this thing using images, which is extremely powerful. Like, like you can already like have text inside of it, right? If you just need text, like, I mean, like the placement.
Really
I think let me just check something. So if I do this, right, I go like this.
Oh, it can align a div?
Yeah. Let's see if it aligns a div. I'm so curious right now. Hold on. This is a lot of fun, by the way.
Can it center?
Hold on. Are we doing bets? No, just kidding.
The impossible feat.
Yeah. Oh no, it can't center. Okay. Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad we didn't do bets. So.
Yeah, no bet. No bet.
No bets. But if we make align div as shown in the original image. Let's try that. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just that alone, just having a valid representation of what that AI can do.
Yeah. I mean, wait, is there another version? Okay, it really failed at that. Okay, never mind. I think you need to prompt it. Like the other thing you have to remember, like prompting is as much of an art as totally. Programming itself. So like I prompted it, like make sure you align the div. But maybe if I say align the title divs to the right, just be more specific. You can just prompt your app pretty much, your front end too. And the nice thing about this is not like some Figma code. This is not like some generated code. It's functional code. So I can copy paste it and say I go into like the Rux.repo. Sorry for the flash. And I can just copy paste this stuff, and we have functional components using Tailwind CSS. This is my go-to. Like I don't like using scaffold-eth. Like it's just, to me it's just a little bit too heavy. I just like loading like create React app. I add a graph client, install ShadCN if I need to. In this case, actually, we've used a different library called NES. I think it's called NES CSS. So like that's the library that created like this 8-bit kind of style. So ShadCN wouldn't be able to do that, for example. But that was just me being quirky. In a hackathon, I don't think you need to sweat in terms of like design. There's no design. There are no design prizes.
Function.
Exactly. Yeah, I tried winning a design prize, but unfortunately there aren't any design prizes. So it's all about being as functional as you can be. Oh, there we go. So see the so it's all about prompting.
There it can.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you just have to work with it. But I still think it's way quicker than say building from scratch sometimes. Yeah, so my go-to stack, for example, is like I said, Next.js, app directory, graph client, very nice, TypeScript. The reason I use graph client, especially in hackathons, which is why it's really nice. The most powerful thing about graph client is the generation. So, for example, if I open this and if I run like, say, if I run yarn client, it's going to generate the types. I don't remember what this means. The graph client. I think whoever used graph client is very familiar with this. But check this out. So it's generated the types for all the for the schema for the subgraph, which is really nice. Like your entire schema, you don't need to program your own types. Makes it really easy. So for example, if I go into here, and if I go into like, where is it? So okay, so here's, for example, I've imported the, I'll show you. Sorry, 1 second. Schema. Components, queries. Okay, so for example, this is the basic like pools ID. This is the basic query that I'm using. So just get all pools. If I come here and and this is so the name that I've just imported from the graph client matches the all pools query. It matches the all pools query name. So this is actually a type file. So so if we go down and you say this is Q, Q is of type all pools query. If I go into like Q dot pools 0 dot ID, it's just inherited the type and its type. So if I was to add say locks, and look, it's got type safety as well, locks ID, right? And then I do
just a better experience with query.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do yarn client. We can go like pools 0 dot, and then look, check this out. Locks just appeared. Locks stay with one delete, and then like
that's
dot
nice.
ID, right? So all like this just saved me a ton of time. During the hackathon, I couldn't get the graph client to work, but it's just a minor error. But our app was like so simple. Like say if you have like a more intense, more data heavy app, because all the beauty was like on the subgraph itself, but not on the query level. So if things don't work, you can always just do the classic, just a string, just a query, just a fetch.
Big old that works.
Yeah. Or you can do the execute. Execute is also part of like graph client. I believe it's just the same as like doing a fetch, right? And yeah. So, but in our case, it's like if you use SDK, you do get SDK.allPools query, all pools, and same thing, all pools.
And for those who are in the audience right now who are not familiar with graph client, Beary, can you go ahead and basically just a little bit explain a little bit about graph client and how it's different than, let's say, just sending a regular query?
Yeah. So graph client is a package released by I believe it's maintained by the graph protocol itself. Is it? So, graph protocol, graph client. I can hold on. Let me just think. So let me just open that up real quick. So this is the graph client. What it is basically, it's a helper library built on top of the mesh by the guild. The guild, I believe, the guild is is associated with the graph protocol, and you guys co-develop a lot of tools, right? So what this is like a bunch of tools from the guild, kind of packaged together to provide graph-specific functionality. So what it can do is like it can do different fetch strategies. It can do retry, client-side composition. Yeah, you can do multi-chain. So multi-chain is like a really powerful one. We use that a lot at UNCX, for example. Raw execution. But for me, the biggest selling point of this library is the type generation, because this is I think this is the most powerful thing about GraphQL in general, just the fact that you can just generate types. And, so for example, what's the library called it's by Facebook. So Facebook has their own like GraphQL, I'll probably remember later, but they have their own like GraphQL library, and it also generates types.
I do like the automatic pagination with this as well. And then the ability to use a live queries, that's really nice. Just polling regularly, that's quite nice. It's just basically I've used it multiple times. Each time it's just a nice suite of features to interact with one or dozens and dozens and dozens of subgraphs. It's really, really powerful. So if anyone out there hasn't tried out Graph Client, give it a try. There's also previous episodes of Graph Builder's Office Hours that go over use. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and there are plenty of examples. So for us, the most powerful thing about the Graph Client, obviously the type generation, but I strongly suggest going into, obviously the cross-chain stuff in the examples is really powerful. But, look at the Next.js examples. Honestly, I'll tell you right now, the example I showed you with SDK is kind of like all you need to build cool apps, basically.
Cool. Thanks for that introduction there.
Yeah, no problem. The beautiful thing about it is that it runs on a server, right? So you can integrate it with Next.js cache. This is like more like advanced stuff, but like you integrate it with the cache and the server side, and you can. It's really powerful. Like for example, this code I just showed you, this runs on the server completely. So I showed like. This is actually something I forgot to say. Like you must during a hackathon, especially, you must like do revalidate 0, like the force dynamic or something like this, because Next.js caches everything by default, and this is a server code. So for some reason, every time you run server code with Next.js, it caches it. I think they're gonna change it later, but right now it's just like you just have to state the revalidate equals 0. It just means it's gonna refetch every time, which is kind of what you want. You want this dynamic behavior. But if you want, if you use a cache, Next.js cache, you're gonna, if you actually program it properly, you're gonna get like almost instant load times with. So for example, you can take this query, or shall I say, this query with SDK, and you can just cache it. Using Next.js, and you're just gonna get instant load times, pretty much, because it's just gonna stream all this data, which is extremely powerful. The other cool thing you can do, also like an advanced feature, I guess, is you can get all this data. You can see because we have all post query type. Say we have a client component here, we can pass it as a prop of type. So we can create like a prop of type all post query and populate the client side code as well. And what I usually do, let me just show you real quick another cool example. Cool. So it's create page. So balance. Use balance. So for example, if I can do it like this so that it's easier to read. So this is a use balance function from WAGMI. Like WAGMI is, it's a classic library you'd want to use. Like during a hackathon, everyone uses WAGMI. As far as I'm aware, so it's like the best option. So what WAGMI actually has under the hood is React. It's using what do you call it? React query, I think. It's a library by Tanstack, which is used by everyone basically to provide caching, revalidation functionality for client side. And this is actually, I don't know, like not many people use it, but basically you can do query. You can do, I think it's called prefetch. Initial data. You can do initial data here, for example, right? So you can do decimals. Well, for example, we'll take decimals. And what you can do, you can, if this component, this is a client component, if this component takes data from the graph client, you can take this graph client data and basically make sure it's loaded instantly on your client side as well. So what this means is that, like, say you're using WAGMI, usually you connect your wallet, there's usually have a bunch of spinners. It takes a while to connect to the front end. But if you can fetch all your data on the server and just pass it instantly, like say it's cached data, then your client side is gonna load like instantly. This is some very powerful stuff.
It's very cool. So
Yep.
with right now we've got Graph Client, we've got the AI front end that you have spun up, and so at this point of the hackathon, you have connected Graph Client to the subgraph that you are getting data from. And what are the next steps? Where would you want to go from here? Would it be more AI tooling? Would it be what would be the next steps?
Yeah, so I would say the next step is yeah, I think this is kind of like these are the essentials that you need to kind of like build up your app. If you have multiple subgraphs, for example, you can go into the graph client RC, add more data sources, so you can combine like Uniswap data and so say I'm going here, you can combine like source. In this case, it's like it's just our hackathon endpoint, for example, for the V4 hook. But you can add Uniswap, you can add a bunch of other stuff. You can perform some cool. You basically build on top of this stack that I kind of like demonstrated. Yeah, I mean, you can also use ChatGPT the usual way, like one of my favorite examples is like, say we're going to like, we take these types, we're going to Claude, we're going here and let's say generate types, script.
Nice. And a question in the chat that applies directly to this right here. Apart from those shared here, what other tools would you have liked to talk about in terms of delivering faster at hackathons? Aiming to do another one in 48 hours. I need crazy fast tips.
Crazy fast tips.
Fast tips.
Crazy fast tips. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is like as crazy fast as it gets. I'm not even joking. Like you just we just went into like where is it? We just went into Excalibur. We just drew our app. We just plugged it in here. We just generated like some front end. We just copy pasted this front end into this app. Then we use Graph Client. I assuming someone else is designing a subgraph. And they've just say you've designed a subgraph, you deployed it, and with the contractor,
sure,
you can just like that. Like I mean, this is all you need. You just add it to the
so
Graph Client.
Let me get the link to that repo, and I'm going to drop that into the chat.
Yeah.
That's how you can go really fast at the hackathon.
Yeah, I mean, you just you have your endpoint here, right? And you do Yarn, you do Yarn client, Graph Client build, whatever. Come on, I mean, I should about it to Yarn client. Well, I mean, you can change it to whatever you want. I do Yarn client. You just there you go. You load up your query into the sorry, where is it? So this is our graph. So say you have a query like this. This is quite complicated query, right? You have pool, you have currency 0, currency 1. Okay. We just copy paste this. Go into, where is it? Yeah. Paste, kind of paste it. Like this. Do Yarn client. And go into the page. And voila, you got your dot wait, hold on. Data dot sorry about this one. Go here, this one, the currency 0. There you go, decimals. Wow, what a beautiful example. You take the decimals from here. If you have a client component, you can prefetch a lot of this data, put it into WAGMI, as I was showing earlier, and then use ChatGPT to basically you know, do the other stuff. Like, look, I just asked it to generate types from. So I gave it I gave it my query. I asked it generate types. You can even ask it to generate, like, if you're feeling super lazy, you can ask it to generate the query. The query.
You make that a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Always bigger.
Yeah. No worries. You can. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, this is bigger. Yeah. For sure. Let's go. Okay. Yeah. This is kind of broken, but like you get the idea. So basically, you generate TypeScript interfaces. If for some reason you need the interfaces individually, right? You just use ChatGPT to generate. Yeah. So this is like
cool. And I shared your repo with Discord and the front end of the repo, at least. They also built a beast of a subgraph, guys. If you also want to take a look at that one, but their front end is more of what we're looking at today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is quite bare bones. I mean, if people didn't even want to use Graph Client and they had a super simple project, they wouldn't need even to use Graph Client.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Graph Client is like, I would strongly suggest experimenting with Graph Client to begin with, just to kind of once you get familiar with the Graph Client, you're going to be faster. But if you don't want to do Graph Client, look, I just literally just fetch GraphQL, and it's a post request. You just plug in the endpoint and call it. You just call it await fetch Graph Client, GraphQL, and done. Yeah, and then you want this. So the only difference is, like, this doesn't have type safety. Oh, well, that's not an issue. You just went into ChatGPT, you just generated these types. So you can just copy paste this. Yeah. Drop it here if you want type safety, right?
Well, we got some questions here on the chat. They have to deal with UNCX and what UNCX is exactly, and if you could say what it is and then what you are doing with them, and maybe show kind of some of the stuff you've been working on with UNCX.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. So UNCX is it's basically a vesting provider, vesting protocol. So by vesting, I mean, it's like you have a bunch of tokens, ERC20s usually. You want to vest them. So it's like company shares or something, right? Or you have like tokens for like some token distribution that you want people to get at the later stage. You vest them without contracts, and after 2 years, you can come to the protocol, withdraw your shares once they've been unlocked. But we also have, so our biggest product is Liquidity Locker. What liquidity locking is basically a vesting contract which locks liquidity. And why do people lock liquidity? So that if you lock your liquidity, you can't rug it. That's the basic idea. So if I go into like beta.uncx.network, for example. So this is our website, which is built using the Graph. It's actually built using the Graph and the Graph client. So we use a lot of the tech I just showcased, and you can see it's kind of quick. And the cool thing about it is that, like, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of our projects, it's like we got Flocky, Banana Gun, Pandora. We have a lot of cool projects. Cult. Yeah, and
I also just looked at all the subgraphs you have on the graph, and I counted at least 15 before I had to come back to this screen. So yeah, you guys have a lot of experience with subgraphs.
Yeah, we deploy a lot of subgraphs. We have like way more than. We have a ton of subgraphs because you have to deploy a subgraph for each chain. And we, for each chain, for each product, you can imagine, it's like, there's 7 subgraphs for each chain. So it multiplies quite quickly. So this is an example of like a liquidity lock. So this is PAL.
And what part of this product, what part of this have you worked on? What part of this have you coded, have you touched on?
So I've built so basically I've built this whole app. This app is a redesign of the old app, which was we were just using like old APIs, and so we weren't using the graph. It was built by one of the co-founders, James, and he he was using Uniswap subgraphs, a combination of Uniswap subgraphs and just crons, basically running a cron every 15 minutes to fetch the information, updated kind of. It was very, it wasn't real time. So what happened? So what this front end is basically it's using the graph to its full potential. All this data is in real time. So if I go into like Flocky, for example, if someone swaps, this thing updates in real time, so you can see like this information. We also have Uniswap v3, so if we go into Pandora, go into this one, we've got a nice like NFT view. So also in, all this information like liquidity percent, for example, like all of this is leveraging the graph. Yeah, I built all of this. So basically, obviously.
So are you I mean, my goodness, I'm just looking at all the different components here, and they're all very responsive.
Very responsive. Yeah, no. So the responsiveness comes from Next.js. All the stuff that I just explained earlier. Like if you leverage all the technologies that I've kind of described, you can get a hyper responsive. You should check out the managed, like admin functions are also very responsive. So like you're gonna load so you're going to the manage. It's gonna be like I don't want to connect right now, but like if you connect your wallet and you play with the functionality, it's all very quick as well. The only bottleneck is probably on-chain calls at this point, just like writing and simulating the contracts and stuff like this.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. Thank you for sharing. I'm sure the audience appreciates. I mean, my goodness, that is some skill to put all that together and to do that. Let's go through a few more questions here.
Yeah.
This is specific to rug pull as a whole, just because rug pulls are a thing. Where is that question? I saw it. Here we go. There was a rug pull question I saw, and I think it was deleted. Anyway, basically, would they go rug pull? What does this rug pull app work? That was the question.
Does the rug pull app work?
Does it protect from rug pulls?
Does it protect from rug pulls? I would say that if the developer wants to, so there are multiple ways. It obviously protects from the classic just liquidity removal. It's physically impossible to just remove liquidity. Say you have 100% locked, you physically can't remove this liquidity once it's locked. Obviously there are other ways to deceive the investors, which involves like if the developer has like contract vulnerabilities, so min functionality. If the developer has a large supply of tokens on one side, they can use it to drain the other side of the pool. So there are a bunch of things that the developer can do, but this is up to you, as for example, an investor to research and understand how before you invest in any of these tokens, it's a good idea to just educate yourself on like it's just the DeFi, how tokens are distributed, all these things. What we provide part of the service. So for example, once you did your research and you see like the developer has the liquidity pool in his wallet, it's like one wallet, he's got this liquidity pool. It's some vulnerability because there's so many times when there's so many projects where just millions just gone because the developer's like, I'm just gonna rug it now. So this just covers. So basically, like you could think about it this way: it's liquidity locking increases, technically increases, like takes care of one side of the vulnerability. You could just if you have a basic ERC20, if you have liquidity locked, if the token supply is like fixed and it's not gonna like say you invest 100% of the token supply, so like rugging, you could mathematically say that the chances like go down a lot. For example, you could really map it out if you look at the tokenomics and stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, we just basically provide a service. In this case, we also have, like I said, we also have. I don't know what the icons are not loading, but we also have token vesting, which is oh wow, okay, no mind. We just deployed a new
one other kind of follow up before we get into other UNCX things. The same as wallets, another trend is multiple small transactions, very fast, one click, 500 transaction buys, creating a trend up. Does RugStop have effectiveness in that situation?
RugStop, right?
Yeah.
Before hook. Something like the V4 hook. So what? It depends if these like 5,000 buys happen on the pool. So basically, it's interacting with the liquidity in the pool. So it's buying like it's interacting with one side to pump the other or like drop the other. What RugStop actually does, which is quite interesting, it prevents mercenary liquidity providers like coming into the pool and like, for example, collecting all the fees. So someone say, I mean, it's just like it's a V3, V4 kind of thing, where it's like some liquidity. So liquidity providers get paid for staking their liquidity and providing this liquidity. So what some people can do, they can front run, they can do sandwich attacks on other liquidity providers, and they can do like narrow range attacks. Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it an attack; it's just an opportunity, right? But like they can get all the collection fees, things like this. There are a bunch of things that they can do. So what RugStop does is like it prevents it basically auto locks these guys so that they can't execute an opportunity and just like that's it, just go somewhere else. It's like they're committed to providing liquidity long term. So that's like the concept. Obviously there are like more elegant ways of going about this, like you could argue, but this is just like, it was a hackathon project, and like it was just like a fun thing we wanted to try with V4. We wanted to see if we could do it, but like
a question here. We have another question here. If in a trading app you just need to get the latest prices of a single currency pair on a Uniswap exchange, would you use Graph Client / the Graph Network, or would you go direct to the Uniswap V2 exchange using Ethers / RPC? Which route would be the fastest in a near real-time trading situation?
The real-time trading situation, for this kind of data, I mean, obviously there are lots of providers, like trading providers like DEX Tools, DEX Screener, you can use these days to like monitor like the price and all this information. I think yeah, just try out DEX Tools and DEX Screener. If DEX Guru, if you're not happy with these providers, or if you want to do some advanced stuff, for example, that they don't provide, I would argue that maybe you want to build something yourself, and for that I would actually recommend using just querying the node itself, getting the data from the mempool, right? If you want just like if you want to so what GraphQL so what Graph Protocol is really good at, in my opinion, is just like, so this dashboard, for example, is really good at it will give you real-time data. Like all this stuff is real-time, but it's kind of like, do you see what I mean? It's like protocol specific. So we've designed this information to be like, it's basically like an analytics page in a way, right? And it's an explore page. It's good enough. We can use it for like contract interactions. We're so confident that the data is real time that we could probably like pull this data for you to interact with the contract. But if you actually want, like, if you're actually serious about getting like, as quick as possible, as you said, I think just building something of your own. I would use I mean, you obviously can use the graph protocol for these sorts of things. But it depends. Like if you want analytical data, if you want to like aggregate like a ton of data from different protocols and do some complex analysis, I think graph protocol is excellent for this. If you want to just like get the quickest, I don't know if you agree with me, Marcus, but yeah.
Awesome. Great questions, everyone.
Yep.
Well, what I want to say is thank you, Beary, for your time coming on here and sharing not only your hackathon project, but also your UNCX lockers product. My goodness, that is well built, and happy to have introduced that to a few of the developers here in the chat. And I'll let you have the final minute here with this workshop and this office hours. If there's anything that you would like to bring up to the developers here, anything that you'd like to share with them for them to maybe try out with UNCX lockers, or maybe a way to get in contact with you, what would you like to say to the developers in the chat here?
I would say that the fact that we're on the graph network means that all this information that I'm showing to you right now is available on the graph network. So what you can do, you can aggregate this data. You can maybe like do some security analysis of the token. So how much liquidity is locked, stuff like this. So this could be like a really interesting aggregation. So say you take some Uniswap data, you take some UNCX data, you combine it together from like two different subgraphs. And maybe you want to build like a Telegram bot, for example. Maybe you want to build your own website that does like security kind of stuff. So like on Dex Tools, for example, if you go into Dex Tools, you will see, let's go into Dex Tools. I'll show you like an example of what you can build with UNCX subgraphs, a basic example. So say we're going to Floki. Floki. So if you can see on the left, for example, you go here, right? And it shows how much liquidity is locked. So this is basically Dex Tools showing its users that like 80% of the liquidity is locked with UNCX, right? And this is using the subgraph. So they're pulling the subgraph from the graph network, which we're serving, and they're showcasing this data. So like, if you want some latest trades, like you can see what like different people are trading, they got like little whale icons, the sizes of trades. And then you can go here and like, you see, 80% of the liquidity locked. You can do some basic tokenomic analysis, like of the pool, Uniswap V2 pool, okay? And then you can just take it from there. But you can also build on top of this, right? So this data is completely open as long as you sign up for the graph network. And all this data is not just lockers, it's also token vesting, staking. We have staking platform, we have token minters. So if you mint a token on UNCX, you can tap into their data using subgraphs. So it's just like all our services are built on top, and we're building on top of Uniswap, so you get real-time Uniswap data. Actually, we're tracking some data that Uniswap is not even tracking. I don't know how accurate this is right now, but back when we started, like we get like some very accurate position data that they didn't track at the time. So you can kind of like really do some really cool stuff.
Awesome. Well, Beary, thank you so much for your time. And for the visitors who are viewing, thank you so much for your time and another great episode of Graph Builders Office Hours. Next week, we're going to have the winner of Best New Subgraph from the ETH Global Brussels event as well. So we have Best Use of Subgraph here with Beary and Best New Subgraph next week. So we're really highlighting these builders, which we're excited about. So everyone in the audience, thank you so much for attending. Looking forward to seeing you next week. And Beary, remember, if you can stay on the line, not close the tab, that'd be appreciated because we have to upload all the video. So, all right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day and have a good rest of your week and weekend. Take care.
Thank you, guys.